When last season abruptly ended, Syracuse was the #1 team in the nation. It's largely the same team that returns, but in a new-look Carrier Dome. Fourth-ranked Syracuse opens the season today against Army. Happy Saturday. We've got a top 15 matchup at the Carrier Dome. The Orange, after 351 days, back in action. Anish Shroff here in North Carolina, Paul Carcaterra in Connecticut. When we left off last year, Syracuse was the top team in the country with championship expectations. That has not changed.
Not at all, Anish. And when you think about it, in 2021, all these guys are back. It is Final Four or bust for the Orange. I think it's their best team since 2015, when that Orange squad was ranked #1 for most of the regular season.
And, Paul, it starts with that first midfield. You won't find a better first midfield in college lacrosse.
It's unbelievable, and stylistically, they're much different. Brendan Curry's the fastest player on the team, tremendous lacrosse IQ, and probably the most well-rounded player on the Syracuse squad. Then there's Tucker Dordovic. He'll put defenders in a spin cycle. His first step is insane. Break defenders down and let it fly. And then Jamie Trimboli, you want a three-point shooter, a guy who could stretch a defense like Steph Curry does in basketball? Trimboli does it for the Orange.
Trimboli had a huge game in the comeback against Army last year. 5 goals, 4 in the second half, including the game winner. Meanwhile, for Army, Paul, they've got a star in the junior captain, Brendan Nickturn, the Patriot League's preseason player of the year.
Lacrosse fans know the name Rob Pennell. Well, that is Brendan Nickturn's idol. Pennell starred for Cornell, and you look at Nickturn's game. He's got a low center of gravity. He's tremendous around goal line extended, but when you play him as a dodger and a scorer, he will feast as a passer. He had 50 assists, top 5 in the nation as a freshman in 2019.
And we're seeing 2 of the best goalies in America. Wyatt Schupler was sensational against Syracuse last year. Drake Porter was a little better, a career-high 18 saves. You can argue Porter as the best goalie in Division I. Happy Sunday. Can I try that again, Paul? It's Sunday. It's not Saturday. So much lacrosse going on. The days blend in. Here we are. Mid-February, late February, we go to the Face-Off X. And Jacob Falk wins the opening face-off from Ethan Barangan. Syracuse will begin on offense. This was a team that demolished its competition for the most part last year. 4 of their 5 games, blowouts. The lone close game, a 2-goal win against Army. And Syracuse strikes early. Number 22, that fabled jersey worn by Chase Scanlon. He was the Orange's leading point scorer and goal scorer from last year.
Well, this is going to be a problem, Anish, for Army. When you short stick Chase Scanlon, you have so much concern about the midfield. You only have those 4 long sticks. Who do you put the shorty on? Well, Chase Scanlon in the offseason has improved as a Dodger. When you talk to John Desko, he said Scanlon has the ability now to break down defenders much more than he did last year as a sophomore.
A year ago, he was the D'Artagnan to the 3 Musketeers, Curry, Dordovic, and Trimboli, and made this team so tough to match up against. Falk and Barangan. And another face-off won by Syracuse. It's Peter Dirth off the wings. You may not find a better D-midi in the country. This team is loaded everywhere you look. That attack of Scanlon, number 2, Griffin Cook, and Stephen Rafis, the assist man, 29 in white. Scanlon's got the short stick matchup against Doug Jones, feeding the crease, and Rafis could not hang on. Watch 11 in black, Marcus Hudgens, local product, fabled West Genesee High School, right here in Central New York. Under-recruited, a three-sport star. He's become one of the better defensemen, not just in the Patriot League, but in all of Division I. It's going to be Syracuse ball. John Desko, part of the 2020 Hall of Fame class and ACC Coach of the Year in 4 of the last 5 full seasons. Second midfield now gets some run for Syracuse, Paul. Buttermore. We see Siebold down there. And the first touch for number 77, Owen Hiltz, the freshman. A lot of buzz surrounding the Canadian.
He's incredible. And when you look at his high school video, his passing is some of the best you'll see from a high school senior.
Scanlon shot saved by Schupler. Byers got it. Here's Griffin Cook, one of the best riders. He and Ian Laviano can get after you in the ACC.
This is big right now for Army. They struggled big time against Virginia clearing the ball. 52% in 2019. On the season, they were 85%. Virginia put a lot of pressure on them. You saw they blew that first clear against Syracuse. This one successful.
10 of 19 clearing against Virginia in a 14-9 loss. Army's had a game under its belt. It's the opener for Syracuse. The Orange, the preseason pick to win the ACC. Garofano moves it to Gunnar Phillip. He's got some shake. Has it knocked away by DiPietro. Nick DiPietro with the cause turnover.
You know, Anish, you talk so much about this first midfield, rightfully so. You mentioned Peter Dearth earlier, but don't forget about guys like Brandon Aviles and Dami running the middle of the field. Those guys are so athletic and skilled as lacrosse players.
Great matchup here. Dordovic against Hudgens. Dordovic fires wide. Army's head coach in his 16th season, Joe Alberici. Hallowed sidelines for the Black Knights. Jack Emmer, Ace Adams, Dick Adele, and now Alberici.
He's
Curry
perfect
calling
for
it.
West Point.
Scanlon feeding inside, a swarm of black, and it's taken away by Army. Kark, your keys for Army.
Well, when you look at the Black Knights, they need midfield scoring. You know what you're getting out of Brendan Nickturn. But who's going to step up from the midfield in the one-on-one defense, defending the Dodgers from Syracuse?
A chance to go early, an unsettled goal. It's Aiden Burns, the junior from Long Island.
Aiden Burns brings a great complementary piece to Brendan Nickturn. Nickturn's a righty. Burns is a lefty. He's a big, strong guy. He can dodge, but he can also stretch a defense with his shot. As a freshman, he's the same class as Nickturn. Didn't get much run at all. Last year, tasted it a little bit. This is the year for Burns where he goes from a player who fits a role to potentially their second star on offense.
And we get movement, face-off violation. Keys for Syracuse, Paul.
You look at the Orange, you got to push the middle of the field. We talked about all those athletes going from defense to offense and then deny Nickturn. I think you have to make it hard for him to get the ball. Brett Kennedy's guarding him. He's an All-American caliber defender. He's very athletic. I would press and make the other 5 guys beat you.
Scanlon has it taken away by Byer. And Army's defense came to play. I thought Army 6-on-6 after they settled down. Hung in there against a loaded Virginia offense last week.
They did, and you look at them, the last 8 seasons, top 10 in defense, overall defense statistically in all of college lacrosse. Got a guy like Kyle Georgalis who's been there that entire time as the defensive coordinator. He works so beautifully hand in hand with Joe Alberici, the head coach. This is a unit that plays fundamental, sound, one-on-one defense.
Second midfield now for Army, 47, Andrew Kelly, along with 50, Bo Waters, and 23, Danny Kilbasa. Waters hounded by DiPietro. Now Kilbasa, the junior from Fairfax, Virginia, against Dami Oladamoye. You mentioned that defensive midfield depth, Dami, Avila, Sturth. It'll come in handy in ACC play as Kilbasa misses high. Brendan Nichtern against Brett Kennedy, wearing that number 11 jersey this year. Nichtern got the step, lost his man, shoots it wide, and Syracuse wins the hustle to the end line. It's Murphy.
If you're Brett Kennedy, you got to press out a little bit on Nichtern. He showed you his athletic ability. When he takes a run at you and changes direction, that was a problem for Kennedy.
Army double polling the Syracuse midfield. They've got a pull on Trimboli and Dordovic. What does that tell you, that they chose Trimboli and Dordovic as the guys to bump up polls to?
If I'm Curry, I'm going to say to myself, all right, you want to disrespect me? Well, guess what? It's time for me to eat. Now I'm going to the rack.
Dordovic against Hudgens. Tucker Dordovic wins the matchup and fires a bullet from the outside.
He hails from Portland, Oregon. Burst on the scene as a freshman, and he is going at Army's top defender, Hudgens. So Dordovic says, poles, short stick, no problem. I'm quicker than you, I'm faster than you, and I go both hands. Tucker Dordovic is a right-handed midfielder, Anish. You just saw him break Army's top defender down, one of the best in the country. Meanwhile, his teammates have some shorties around him, right? You're going to think, oh, give it to that guy. No, 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 no. I'm that good.
He had a promising freshman season in 2018, missed all of 2019 with a foot injury, came back last year, and just when he was becoming the old Tucker, the season went away. We saw that in the last two games, especially the Johns Hopkins game, Syracuse's final game, and we never really got to see Tucker Dordovic get into a true groove. He's got the highest ceiling of any of the Syracuse midfielders.
From a one-on-one play creation perspective, hands down. And that first goal showed me a lot from his mindset, that he is ready to rock and roll.
Now Owen Hiltz, the lefty out of Canada, number 2 freshman, turns it over.
You saw that pass by Hiltz. That kind of reminded me of Casey Powell as a freshman. He gets the pass off so quickly, it actually takes time for his teammates to get accustomed to playing with him. Hiltz just has that quick flick of the wrist, a lot like Jeff Teat from Cornell. You have to always be ready for the ball if you play with him.
And that's twice almost where Army, unsettled, got some pretty good looks, and that may be the formula. If Syracuse is going to ride, Army is going to go early.
Well, when you're Cuse, if you're going to press your ride like a full court press in hoops, if you have the athletes in the middle of the field, you can break it, and when you do break it, you have those opportunities.
Here comes Trimboli, top scoring midi 2 years in a row for Syracuse. Now Griffin Cook, Curry's got the short stick, draws the slide, extra pass, Army recovers. Cook hits the side of the net. first midfield for Army, Nicholas Garofano, Gunnar Phillip, and Bobby Abshire. 14 Abshire, one of the top middies in the Patriot League. Phillip down the alley, shot altered.
Garofano, 0 and black. Bench presses 340 pounds, and he's from my hometown, Yorktown, New York. How do you not love him, Anish?
Is that a hashtag no booch? Here comes Cuse off the ground. Dami playing it up ahead to Dearth. Dearth draws the slide. I tell you what, Peter Dearth, who was an offensive midi early in his career for Syracuse, could be a first-line offensive midi for a lot of teams in the country.
Without question, he came to Syracuse in his first year and change. He was playing offense and he was getting playing time. But his value is in the middle of the field for Syracuse, starting from the defensive end and creating offense. You don't pick him up, he will sling it from downtown.
Reminds you a little of Matt Abbott. Dordovic, left hand again, and he scores. That's 2 going to his left.
The problem when you guard Tucker Dordovic, because of his work ethic and the amount of time he puts in the offseason, he is equally effective going right or left. In the beginning stages of this ball game, Tucker Dordovic is dominating.
We celebrate Black History Month with ACC Winter Unity Week, the conference initiative to allow athletes, coaches, and administration from all backgrounds to come together and celebrate our differences while working together to improve racial and social issues. Dallin Cup hosts a virtual roundtable celebrating some of the ACC Trailblazers Monday at 7 Eastern right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. 3-1 Syracuse in the opener for the Orange. Second game for Army. Tucker Dordovic a couple of goals. Chase Scanlon had a tally. And Aiden Burns the lone goal for Army. Syracuse has been dominating the faceoffs. That has been a theme as Army wins one there. Army the last 2 years against Syracuse in close losses. 7 of 40 at the faceoff X. You want to pull an upset, you got to be a little bit better at the dot.
Yeah, and that forces you to be so clean in other stages of the game. Ground balls and clearing, and your one-on-one defense as well. All 3 Syracuse goals right now are unassisted. Army prides themselves on playing great one-on-one defense, and when Syracuse has that dodging ability, you know the slide's going to be slower than most teams because Army has so much pride in terms of the way they play defense.
A lot of Moye all over Kilbasa, who gets the pick from Nichtern. And his pass goes awry. Over and back, Syracuse ball. Scanlon off the quick restart.
Yeah, that can't happen, Anish, right? When you're losing face-offs, it's turnovers like that, right? You win your first face-off of the game, you get your offense into a groove, give the ball to Nichtern, and then a turnover right away.
Here's Dordovic, already 2 goals, both with the left hand. Spins to his right, fires a rocket! A first quarter hat trick for the 4th-year sophomore out of Oregon.
Anish, if you arrived today from Mars and you watched the first quarter and I asked you what hand is Tucker Dordovic, what would your answer be?
Both.
Exactly. And they long pole him in the beginning with their top defender in Hudgens, and then he sees a shorty. He's salivating, right? Okay, I beat you left twice now. Well, now you're going to see my righty rip.
We saw this the last 2 games of 2020. Tucker Dordovic further removed from that foot injury. 5 goals, 2 assists against Hobart. A hat trick against Johns Hopkins, and he was just hitting his stride. And John Desko told us he felt Tucker picked up right where he left off. As your folks in Yorktown say, no booch.
Yeah, no. And look, when Tucker Dordovic hurt his foot, that's a really tough injury for a player like him because he's so aggressive with his change of direction, and he drops that plant foot into the turf, putting so much pressure on himself.
How about the feed and the finish? It's Jacob Buttermore, and it's 5-1 Syracuse. That's 4 straight for the Orange.
You know, we talk about the first midfield of Trimboli, Curry, and Dordovic. This second midfield is as good as any second midfield in college lacrosse. You have a guy like Lucas Quinn who goes both ways in terms of his dodging, and then you have the spot shooter in Jacob Buttermore. Buttermore is at his best when someone feeds him the ball, passes to him, and gives him just a second to get that lefty shot cocked back, and he lets it fly. That is his calling card. He is a lefty sniper.
3 goals in 1:45 for Syracuse. And again, speaking to the depth of that second midfield, Buttermore was a 20-goal scorer 2 years ago. Had 4 hat tricks that year. He's running on the second midfield.
Exactly, and you look at Lucas Quinn. He was in the same recruiting class as Curry and Dordovic, and he was the highest rated recruit of the 3.
Here is Trimboli. Turned away, good defense there. Liam Davenport. Now Curry. Back to Trimboli. Trimboli on the run, finds the back of the net. First game for Syracuse. The Orange look to be in mid-season form. It's 6-1.
Well, last season in the 2-goal win, Jamie Trimboli had 5 goals. So when you talk to people around the Army program, he is at the top of the scouting report. He was the leading goal scorer in the abbreviated 2020 season. And I'm looking at this midfield, and you look at Dordovic and Trimboli and Buttermore getting on the board. And then you have Curry, too. How do you defend this group? There's just too many of them that do too many different things as well in terms of dodgers, shooters, righties, lefties.
Jamie Trimboli hits the century mark in points. 5 of the 6 goals coming from the Syracuse midfield. 3 of them from Tucker Dordovic.
When you look at his first quarter, he waited so long for this opportunity. The injury 2 years ago. Last year, the shortened season. He's primed in terms of his athletic ability. His conditioning is as good as any player on the team. And his work ethic in terms of the amount of extra time he takes shooting and putting in specific elements to his game. You see everything on display right now for Tucker Dordovic.
If you are measured by the company you keep, I'm in trouble, you and Quint. But Curry, Trimboli, and Dordovic, that is good company to be in.
Well, you look at the Gate brothers, right? And the amount of points that they put out. And you look at 2020, and obviously it wasn't a full season, but the short sample size that they had, even in the 5 games, to be in the same statistical category in terms of the points per game, that's frightening.
Jamie Trimboli was supposed to start a full-time job last summer with a wealth management company in Rochester. Wanted to come back with his teammates like Stephen Rafis and some others, Peter Dirth, to win a championship, and that company's holding his position until after the season. Stephen Rafis was accepted to Albany Law School. His enrollment deferred a year so he can play in this 2021 season.
Anish, how old are you?
Late 30s.
You're late 30s. Okay, I'm 45. If someone asked me, would you take the extra year? I mean, would you hesitate for 1 second, knowing what the real world is like and how much time you have to get a job and to get acclimated to the next step in your life? these are the best years of your life, regardless if you play for Syracuse or Army or Virginia or Carolina. Capture the moment, and if you could put it on pause and get another year, you take it and run.
Man up Army in a legal pocket on Syracuse. You got Jimmy Perkins and Robert Morris, a 7th-year senior. A lot of FOMO on this end. Let's see what Army can do with the extra man. 8 of 26 last year. Abshire over to Burns. He has the lone Army goal. Abshire steps into one. That'll reset the shot clock. 15 seconds on the man up. Any shot that hits the goalie or the crossbar resets the shot clock. And we'll be back to even strength. Abshire feeding the crease. Nick Turn is there. And the Patriot League's preseason player of the year is on the board.
Tremendous pass by Abshire, seeing through the layers of the Syracuse defense. That was a 1-minute penalty. Illegal pocket. The depth of the Syracuse pocket, too much. Nick Turn makes him pay. Anish, 1 minute for illegal pocket. If he altered the length or the width of his stick, he would have been banged for 3 minutes. But it didn't matter. And the toughest part for man down is you hold the Army offense in terms of their man-up opportunity. But when you sub in, there's always that extra like 5 to 10 seconds, right, to really get acclimated in your base defense. Abshire knew he still had time, even though the penalty was exhausted, and finding Nick Turn on the backside there. That was a beautiful play.
Thorpe and Graber at the face-off X. And we're going to get a loose ball push against Army. Thorpe last year 16 of 19 at the X against the Black Knights. Offsides, it'll be Army ball. Final 25 seconds of this opening quarter. Saturday on the ACC Network, we get our first look at Notre Dame against a veteran Robert Morris team. And then Virginia and Syracuse. That is the first ACC men's lacrosse game of the year. Get your popcorn ready for all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Final 5 seconds. Garofano shoots wide. Quarter number 1 comes to an end. The Syracuse midfield flexing in that opening quarter. Tucker Dordevic, a first quarter hat trick to lead the way.
Anish, everyone fears the first midfield of Syracuse. Dordevic giving them every reason to do so.
Anish Shroff, Paul Carcaterra with you on this Sunday. John Desko told us the Syracuse team has been practicing only for about 2.5 weeks. They haven't had a scrimmage, but there is so much returning firepower. Essentially the same team that was #1 when last season was stopped. And Desko banking early on experience, chemistry, and continuity. All that on display in that opening quarter.
Well, Anish, you see it throughout the ACC, and that's why North Carolina's been so impressive in the early stages of this season. And Virginia, for Syracuse, these guys have been playing together for 3-4 years. So you have an abbreviated fall because of the pandemic, a shortened preseason, but you know the scheme, you know the system, and most importantly, you know each other.
Syracuse 7 of 9 now with the face-off X. Now that's one part of this first midfield for Syracuse. Not only individually are they all great talents, but it's also the way they play together. Curry on the feed to Dordevic, who plays it back to Curry. Draws the slide. Dordovic can't handle the pass. And Scanlon retrieves. Flag is down. It's coming against Army. Scanlon with a good look. A save by Schupler. And now Syracuse will go man up.
I think this will be an illegal body check on 52 for Army.
Matthew Horace.
Look at 52 in black. Horace just lays the boom. And this is what you're going to get with an Army team. Super aggressive, physical, and zero quit. You look at the score right now, 6-2. By no stretch of the imagination, if you're Syracuse, should you feel like, okay, we're in great shape right here. Army always fights against Syracuse. 8 of the last 10 games in the Dome decided by 2 goals or less. They're going to continue to swing.
Great interior passing. Rafis could not finish. Hiltz comes away with it. Now Trimboli. Dordovic with 3 goals already to the freshman Hiltz. Great pass. Trimboli saves Schupler. Army always seems to have somebody back there. It was A.J. Barreto, then Wyatt Schupler. That last line of defense has been so good for Joe Alberici's team.
And those guys are rarely rattled when they get to the Dome.
I think Army may have gotten a timeout. That salvages the possession. Still 9 seconds left on the Syracuse man up. The Orange up 6-1 early in the second. Nine seconds left on the Syracuse man up. Army, especially recently, has given Syracuse fits. Last year, the Black Knights led 5-2 at the half. Jamie Trimboli and Drake Porter sparking that second half comeback. A 2-goal win in 2019. 2018, a triple overtime thriller. That was, I believe, the Dom Madonna pass, right? The half-field pass, the goalie assist.
Yep.
And then Army won at the Dome in 2017, of course, 2010. NCAA tournament first round. Army, one of the biggest upsets in the history of the tournament, knocking off the 2-seed Syracuse. And that Syracuse team was loaded, coming off back-to-back national championships. And Army cuts the lead in half. It's 6-3. Gunnar Phillip, who had a goal against Virginia, with his second tally of the season.
Anish, I just said moments ago, don't sleep on Army in a 4-goal game. They are going to fight back. They come up to the Carrier Dome every single year for this game. None of these players wilt under pressure. And Phillip right there recognizes an opportunity to invert the midfield defense of Syracuse. Phillip, very comfortable up top, but shows versatility to get behind the cage and make a play.
This has been the X factor, though. Face-offs. And Fopp able to win another. Syracuse now 8 of 10 at the X. Stephen Rafis, 6th-year senior, has led Syracuse in assists 3 years in a row. Top scorer as a sophomore. Here comes Curry, who really improved his shooting percentage last year. Dordovic has an opening. Big save by Schupler, going down low to get it.
Yeah, Schupler did a fantastic job matching stick on stick with Dordovic.
Still got a clear, and Army. Little helter-skelter. They've got a chance here. Streaking in. And will this count? It will. It's 6-4. Doug Jones, his first career goal.
Anish, moments ago you mentioned Syracuse's ride in pressuring Army. Well, if you have the athletes to run by them, you can make them pay when they press ride, and Doug Jones just does that. Spectacular fashion in terms of just his ability to move towards the middle of the field, too. If you saw the last moments of that shot, he doesn't lose his angle. He fights, he puts his shoulder towards the middle of the field to keep that angle.
You see the goal mouth. That is the semicircle, the second circle inside the crease. The only circle, I should say, inside the crease. And Jones avoided landing in the goal mouth. It used to be that officials would have to decide if a player dove into the goal mouth, which would be no goal, or if he was pushed in. Now, none of that matters. If you land in the goal mouth, no goal, whether you were pushed or not.
So easy, too, when you think about it, right? If you're pushed, if you land on your own. If you land on your own, it's a penalty on the offense. And if you touch the goalie, you're going to be in the box for a minute. And if it's over the aggression level in terms of just blatant, it could be more than a minute. If a defender pushes you in, it's a penalty on the defense. So it's very clean for spectators, for fans, and most importantly, the players to know the rule. It's never going to be a goal if you land in that goal mouth.
It was 6-1 Syracuse at one point. Army has scored 3 in a row. Had a chance to make this a one-goal game. Here's Phillip. He had a goal for Army earlier in this quarter. Takes a spill. Flag is down. Penalty coming against Syracuse. They'll get Brett Barlow.
White 41, 30, push.
Syracuse penalty to number 41.
Let's take a look here, Anish. Barlow on Phillip. Yeah, that's from the back. That's an easy call.
Army 0 for 1 on the man up, but with an asterisk, because as soon as that man up expired, Abshire was able to find Nick Dern right on the doorstep. Nick Dern's been quiet otherwise, has not had the ball a whole lot. He's got it now. And that one turned away. Shot by Danny Kilbasa with a side of peppers and potatoes. Kilbasa plays it to the wing. Abshire behind to Nick Dern, looking for Burns, makes the catch in traffic. A better pass, and maybe that's a shot. Even strength now. Kilbasa takes Dami behind the cage. Pick from Nick Dern. Good defense there. Now Phillip fires, and a save by Porter. Drake Porter, a Canadian, an All-American. His 2 highest save totals have come against Army. 18 last year, 16 the year before.
You see the strength of Peter Dearth on that clear. Right, Anish, he's totally harassed, but the size, speed, and strength make him like an automatic clear, a lot like Ohio State's Ryan Terefenko, right? You give him the ball, you're going to get it to the offensive end. He's just bigger, he's stronger, and wants it more.
Scanlon goal line extended. Dordovic will isolate Kilbasa. Dordovic hits the side of the net, and Schupler dives on it. Near the sideline, Kilbasa able to get it across.
You've mentioned Kilbasa's name for the last 3 minutes. They got to get him off the field. He's exhausted, and do not mention food when you mention Kilbasa's name. Anish, I'm Italian, all right? I'm like an hour and a half away from dinner on a Sunday.
It's 12:45. I'm past lunchtime, so you see Kilbasa gonna have to go downstairs for that halftime snack. Here's Nick Turn against Kennedy. Now, Nick Turn's got a physical presence to him. Likes the contact. Good D by Kennedy. Wears that number 11 jersey, which has become what 22 is to the Syracuse offense. Steve Panarelli started that tradition, then Joel White, McGill, Mullins, Nick Mellon last year, and now the number 11 passed down to Kennedy, the best defender on the Syracuse team. The Orange without a goal in this second quarter, a 10-minute scoring drought. They just get it across. You've got until that shot clock hits 60 to get it across the midline. That second midfield has been a four-man rotation. We've seen Quinn, Buttermore, Hiltz, and Seabold. Buttermore has it knocked away. Army's got it. Here comes Kyle Byer. Senior civil engineering major will taxi for the Black Knights. Army much better clearing today after a disastrous outing against Virginia last weekend. Byer's still out there. The long pole thought about a shot. It hits a Syracuse player who is down, and they're going to have to stop play. Ouch. That's Murphy, Grant Murphy. Ooh, right off the helmet.
Almost like the shoulder area too, which would hurt a lot more actually. Get up near that collarbone area and you see him holding that area. Grant Murphy is the inside presence for Syracuse. Does a tremendous job in terms of orchestrating the defense from a communication standpoint. He's not the cover guy like a Brett Kennedy who's going to chase you all over the field and go after you. He's the guy, almost like an extension of Porter, who makes it happen in terms of how the defense is communicating and working together.
You hope he's okay. Junior from Texas who began his career as a defensive midfielder, a short stick. Abshire gets inside. That one hit the pipe.
You look at Abshire, Anish, and you look at his physical presence. And in that Virginia game when I was watching the tape, I just think at 6'2", 210, he can do a lot in terms of any type of matchup with a smaller short stick defender.
He's got that matchup here against Dami. Abshire, left hand wide. This second quarter seems to be a complete 180 from what we saw in quarter number one. Pace, tempo being controlled by Army. Army picked second in the Patriot League behind Loyola. Hounds gave Virginia a scare yesterday. And the Hoos pulled away. What a feed and what a finish. It's Abshire.
This is next level passing by Brendan Nichtern. If you're a young attackman, just watch how his head is always up, surveying the defense, understanding where the pressure is. There's a double. And as a result of the double, the rest of the Syracuse defense has to help out. Abshire recognizes a defender with his head turned and backdoors him. That is beautiful passing and off-ball offense.
Nick Turn's nickname in high school, Rob Pinnell.
Wonder why.
And Joe Albarisi was telling us that's the guy that he models his game after. He's got a little RP3 in him.
You know, when you think of Rob Pinnell and what he's done for the sport of lacrosse, and he had a great gesture a year ago. My brother Brian's close with Rob Pinnell, and they like to play golf and keep in touch. Brian brought Rob Pinnell to an Army game in the abbreviated 2020 season and met him in the locker room, and they hung out, and it was a big moment for Nick Turn, but also a big moment for a guy like Rob Pinnell who loves giving back, and to be able to do that with an Army lacrosse player, it's a little bit different and special.
Saved by Schupler on the shot by Curry. You love to see that, guys paying it forward. Syracuse more than 11 minutes now since its last goal. Scanlon swimming inside, turns it over. And we get a flag.
On the black, 52-30 with a push. Check!
Morris again. Anish, that's his second penalty. He's playing aggressive. You love the nature in terms of how he's getting after it and going down swinging, but you want him to play from a cerebral perspective when you play the defensive spot and not give this man-up opportunity.
Dordovic with an absolute rocket. He's got 4 in the first half.
If you make a mental mistake, they'll make you pay. Dordovic's first 3 goals, you saw him dodging and breaking defenders down, and now he plants his feet and he lets it fly. And when I spoke to Drake Porter, the goalie from Syracuse, I asked him, who's the toughest guy to track in terms of the way they shoot? He didn't even hesitate. Tucker Dordovic.
Why? What makes his shot so hard to see for a goalie?
Because he has multiple release points, and he does it on the run when he's moving and dodging, but also when he can stand still and let it rip. In his traditional 3/4 overhand rip that you just saw, he brings the stick back so a goalie doesn't really get a clean look at it, and that's his go-to shot.
Another flag down. It's on Peter Dirth, so now Army goes man up.
Syracuse penalty to number 9, Peter Dirth. 1 minute.
Dirth known to roam the wings for Syracuse on the face-off. He gets aggressive with that body check, and look for Nick Turn to quarterback and thread needle-like passes through this Syracuse defense when they're extra man. He has the ability to rifle long darts.
20 and 14, Nick Turn and Abshire. And that's Nick Turn. So Army answers the Syracuse man-up goal with a man-up goal of its own at 7-6.
How do you like the 1-2 punch of Abshire and Nick Turn? The last goal, it was Nick Turn to Abshire. This time we're talking about threading needles. Twice now. That's been a problem. The backside of the Syracuse man-down defense, Anish, has been soft. They're pressuring so much up top, they're leaving that backside open. And Nick Turn's made them pay now twice.
Yeah, that was Kilbasa with the assist. It's almost lunchtime. He knew it was time to eat. Face-off violation on Syracuse, so Army now with a chance to tie. We remind you, this is just the first game of a triple header on the ACC network. Women's lacrosse follows Virginia Tech at Duke at 2. A great goalie matchup there. And then at 4 Eastern, High Point and North Carolina. UNC, the #1 team in the country. Yeah, UNC's got some pretty good lacrosse with its men's and women's team right now at Chapel Hill. Bordovik's pass brought in by Trimboli with one hand. He lost it. It's on the ground. A lot of contact. Getting physical. Big ground ball here late in the first half. And Army has it. Byer out of the scramble. And he throws it away. Army able to save it. Army's had some success with its early offense. Let's see if they go again. To the wing. Edinger! Tully, New York, right down the road from Syracuse. And he's tied it at 7.
Edinger closes it out, but Anish, what I think a telling factor in this first half, Army has cleaned up their clearing game. And they've been very successful against the pressure ride of Syracuse. If I'm Syracuse, I might mix that up right now. They've shown the ability, Army, to break this press ride of Syracuse. Get a little softer, because the Army athletes are matching Syracuse in the middle of the field when it comes to clearing the ball.
10 of 19 clearing against Virginia last week. 13 out of 14 today. And now Army wins the faceoff, a chance to take its first lead of the game. It was 6-1 Syracuse late in the first quarter. Been all Army here in the second quarter. There's something about these two at this venue. Here's Kilbasa. Fires high. Looks like it got a piece of the crossbar, so the shot clock resets, and Army can hold for one.
Last minute of play in the period.
Kilbasa against Aviles. 43 and wide, really flashed last year as a freshman D-Midi. He was arguably their most impactful true freshman. Kark, you go at what, 15, 20?
Yeah, I like 15 because if you miss the shot and you have the backup, you get another crack at it.
Kilbasa against Aviles. Now he goes. Feeding inside to Byrne. Aiden Burns gives Army the lead for the first time.
Patience. I said take your first shot at 15, while Army will take 14. Aiden Burns is all lefty. Traditionally, you want to cut down that pipe with your right hand, but when you're so comfortable and you have those quick hands and wrists to make it pay, on a goalie like Porter, it's really tough to track because you have the unorthodox Burns catching that lefty and putting it across his face, and then increases his angle, right? Because when you cut righty, that's the flow cut. That's where you want to cut. But when you catch lefty and you can do that, not many people can put it across their body like that. You have a way better angle.
Final seconds and a timeout by Syracuse. Only 1 second on the clock. Now they're going to have to add some seconds back. I think the timeout was called with about 3 seconds. Better clearing today, Paul, from Army. What else has fueled this West Point comeback?
I think it's the ball movement. You know, the defense settles down, but you look at all the assisted goals by Army. They're dissecting the Syracuse defense, whether it's when they're extra man or in the 6-on-6 set. they're playing really smart, fundamental offense in terms of initial dodges, seeing what the defense gives them, and then dissecting and finding that next layer, the soft spot of the Syracuse defense. We've seen multiple goals that way.
Army 8 goals by 7 different players. 6 goals coming just in this second quarter.
Yeah, Nick Turn down low on the righty rip from Abshire. And you just see their ability also to strike in transition, breaking the ride of Syracuse. Abshire finishes that one in tight. But I think they're so much more comfortable, and credit Virginia in terms of their press ride, but Syracuse has a press ride too. This is the second game for Army. They can go back, they can watch the tape, and they could spend a lot of time this past week in terms of the way they clear, knowing that Syracuse is going to take a page out of the Virginia win and the Virginia ride and try to implement it in this game. Army says not too fast. That's why I actually think Syracuse should change and be a less pressure riding team in the second half and kind of play that more of that prevent defense, Anish.
Yeah, let's see if you can beat a 6-on-6. 3 seconds to go. Let's see what Syracuse can do. Rafus will trigger. Over to Hiltz. Hits the pipe. Owen Hiltz, the number 2 freshman coming out of high school, nearly tied it in the final seconds of the first half. A tale of 2 quarters. Syracuse led 6-1 early. Army closed the first half with a 6-1 run. It's the Black Knights on top by a goal. (8-7) Army over at the Carrier Dome. Anish Shroff in Charlotte, North Carolina. Paul in Ridgefield, Connecticut. Partner, how did Army come back down 6-1 in this game?
Look, Anish, you and everyone in the lacrosse world, if you watched Army play in the past, when it was 6-1, did you really think they would lay down and let Cuse just walk all over them? No shot. For me, with Syracuse, there's a couple adjustments that need to be made. One is I think you need to clean up your ride game, and you're pressuring too much, giving opportunities for Syracuse. But most importantly, Tucker Dordovic has 4 goals. If I'm his line mates, Jamie Trimboli and Brendan Curry, I know that all the attention's going to be on Dordovic in the second half. It's my time to shine if I'm one of those 2 players.
Yeah, Trimboli was the second half star in this game last year. 5 goals, 4 coming after halftime, including the game winner. Drake Porter also was sensational in that game. And I'm with you. The ride from Syracuse hasn't given Army the trouble they thought it would. Certainly Army struggled clearing against Virginia, 10 of 19 last week, 13 out of 14. And a lot of times after Army breaks that press, we have seen some really good opportunities in early offense for the Black Knights. And what you're saying is, let's see if Army can beat Syracuse 6-on-6.
Absolutely. 3 goals resulted directly after the rides that weren't successful. And I think when you look at Syracuse defensively, when they're in their 6-on-6 base defense, they've been covering the ball okay. I think it's off ball and the communication that needs to be cleaned up. There's a lot of assisted goals by the Black Knights.
Syracuse has won the large majority of faceoffs, 11 of 16 in that first half, and now 12 of 17. It's Jacob Fopp. Now we get a loose ball push. It's against Syracuse, so Army will have it. No, it's against Army, so Syracuse will have it. Dordovic, the 4 goals in the first half on 6 shots. Curry steps into one, an easy save for Schupler, his 5th. And Davenport clears. Davenport all the way. Plays it back to Edinger. Tully, New York native. That has been a pipeline for Syracuse. The Hardys, father and the sons, Solomon Bliss, but Nicholas Edinger with a couple of goals now, and he's given Army a 2-goal lead.
Drive about 20 miles south on 81, and you'll run into a small town in Tully, New York, with a great lacrosse tradition. But Edinger absolutely paints that corner. We've seen his ability on these clears for Army to find that soft spot, right? And as a point man on the break and as the first guy in the offensive zone, you have to play that little cat and mouse game with your defender because your defender's looking to help. So you find that little space, you catch, you plant, you paint the corner.
Army's got it back. It was Syracuse that came back in this game last year. The Orange trailed Army 5-2 at halftime a year ago. Outscored Army 7-2 in the second half. We saw your piece with Drake Porter. Porter was quoted in the offseason as saying, this season is not even about championship weekend or bust. It's about winning a championship. Garofano, skip pass to Phillips. Phillip, inside to Burns. Porter saved it, finally tracks it. And Kark, what I wanted to get at, you played at Syracuse. Listen, at a lot of schools, you get to championship weekend, they remember those teams forever. When you've won 11 championships, they only remember national champions at Syracuse.
Absolutely, and for me, it was getting to a Final Four. I was in that stretch of 22 straight Final Fours where we went to 4, but the lacrosse parity right now, it's so much harder to get to championship weekend in 2021 as opposed to 1997 when I played. So the expectations, they need to be kind of more realistic.
Schupler stepping up again, another save, shot clock resets.
And I know everyone wants to win one every year when you're at Syracuse. But for me now, it's getting back to championship weekend. This is a team that certainly could win it all. They have the talent, but they're also on a Final Four drought since 2013. So to me, it's about getting back to championship weekend. Of course, these guys want to win it all, but the game has changed.
Dordovic feeding Rafis. Beautifully done. Dordovic had the short stick matchup and finds the cutting Stephen Rafis. It's 9-8.
You're seeing a little bit of everything from Dordovic. Righty, lefty sweeps, shooting on the run, planting your feet and letting it rip. Now you see the vision. This is a tremendous pass, and the anticipation is off the charts by Dordovic because he feels Rafis is going to slide back door and cut behind the Army defense. Anish, we talk so much about how familiar these players are with each other. Guys like Rafis and Dordovic, we've been saying their names forever.
Rafis coming back for a 6th year, Dearth for a 5th year, Trimboli for a 5th year, Dordovic a 4th year senior. The only real loss that Syracuse had was Nick Mellon, but if you recall, Nick Mellon didn't play a whole lot last year. He was injured most of the season, and so Murphy, Kennedy bumped down to close defense last year. Nick DiPietro, that starting defense that you have this year, that was pretty much the starting defense last year. And then David Lipka, second-line midfielder, transferred to Notre Dame.
Everyone else you have back, so that's why Porter is thinking not just Final Four, but championship bust. He knows the talent. He sees it every day. He plays against these offensive players who can shoot the lights out, and midfielders can run up and down the field.
Picked up by Dearth. The first 3-time captain in the history of this proud program. Trying to play it back to Porter. It's a turnover, and Army gets it back. And we get a flag. Aiden Burns, who's got a couple of goals today, called for the push.
Yeah, right in the back on Dearth. Dearth kind of got bailed out by Burns because it looks like he was having trouble clearing the ball, which he rarely does from that spot before Burns pushed him. Watch 77, Hiltz.
On a bounce to Trimboli, who's got a goal. Dordovic's got 4. Schupler, denial on the doorstep. He's made some big saves here in this third quarter.
Yeah, if I'm Stephen Rafis there, I do one of 2 things. Lefty, you lost your angle. Go behind the back to increase your angle, or shoot at Schupler's ankles. I mean, he's covering that whole area to go high in that spot. Not a smart shooting decision by a really smart player in Rafis.
Bobby Abshire, he's been productive as a finisher and a feeder. If you're Army, Brandon Nichtern has not touched the ball a whole lot, and you've got a 1-goal lead on the road coming up on 10 minutes to play in the second half. Edinger whips it wide. And Nichtern will retrieve.
Nish. I'm with you, man. I want Nichtern to test this matchup. We saw him really only go one-on-one against Kennedy once early in that first quarter. He's playing smart lacrosse. He's playing off the ball and playing off of his teammates, but he's the guy.
Phillip off the feed from Nichtern. It's 10-8 Army.
And Anish, this is what makes great players great. Not pressing and not trying to do too much. Nichtern gets Syracuse kind of caught in that 2-man pick game. Aviles turns his back, doesn't know to fight through the pick or to switch. And what that does is Nichtern understands that. He sees the positioning of 43 and white Aviles, and he knows, okay, there's the opening. The headiness of Nichtern from a lacrosse IQ. I haven't seen him make a bad play today.
Quick back! Quick back!
It doesn't surprise you given what West Point is all about. Army down 6-1, never gave up, and they have roared back against a team many of us have pegged for championship weekend. But don't sleep on this Black Knights team too. Let's not forget where they were a season ago. They absolutely railroaded their first 3 opponents. In fact, they were playing better than anybody and then went to face Marist in a midweek game, were ambushed, lost to Syracuse the following game, and kind of slipped off the radar for the small duration of the rest of the season. Pass for Siebold is awry. But you remember what Army did last year? They beat UMass, NJIT, and Rutgers by scores of 17-4, 19-1, and 15-4 to open the season.
100%. I think if you asked people who watched the game closely after that early season run, who's a team like the non-traditional Big Ten or ACC squad that can make a run at a Final Four, I think everyone at that point in time would have said Army. I mean, you have a quarterback in Nichtern who makes everyone around him better. This is a guy as a freshman, had 50 assists. Top 3 in the nation as a freshman, dealing the ball and orchestrating the offense, and you have that piece.
Edinger with the hat trick. A Central New York homecoming to remember.
If I'm John Desko, I take a timeout right now, and I just tell my players, take a deep breath. A lot of mental mistakes by the Cuse, and Army is capitalizing on every single one of them. You see these early possessions and turnovers, and Syracuse is pressing. They had that hot start, and then Army comes back. They're up by 1 at half, and early stages in the third quarter. Syracuse needs to understand you don't need to win this game right now. So you're seeing costly turnovers, not getting those defensive ground balls. I take a timeout right now, and I ask my guys, how do you feel? What are you seeing? But most importantly, take a deep breath.
It is a 10-2 Army blitz since Syracuse jumped out to a 6-1 lead. Griffin Cook against the short stick. Looking to feed it back to Dordovic. And Dordovic will retrieve back about 25 yards away. Now Curry, who's been quiet. Stick checked away. And we get a whistle, and then Hudgens and Scanlon got tangled. It'll go back to Syracuse. The call was interference on Army. Curry, skip pass to Cook. The Orange looking out of sorts on offense. Dordovic steps into one. And it hits the goal. Comes back to Army. Another chance for early offense for the Knights. They'll settle. Nick turn against Kennedy. Save Porter. Such a calmness and a coolness to Drake Porter, a young man who watched a lot of John Galloway on YouTube. Mentored by Dylan Ward, one of the best goalies in the world.
You got Joey Chestnut and John Galloway mixed up, right? You're watching too much of the halftime piece. The athlete he admires the most, Joey Chestnut.
And of course, our football colleague, Joey Galloway. There's Quinn from Hiltz. Rafus, not really a threat from out there. Owen Siebold now, out of Dallas, Texas. Rafus with his man hung up. Cook denied again. Schupler, a stone wall in the cage. Jones. We get a loose ball hold on Syracuse. Five and a half to go in the third. Now this would be something, a team with, as we said, championship expectations coming into the season. I know Army's a top 15 team and all. But if Syracuse loses this game, given how their ACC contemporaries have come out, even though it's early, it does change the narrative to begin the season.
It definitely does. But if you've watched this, guess you would call it rivalry, right? Over the last 10 years, 8 of these games, 2 goals or less, they've been decided by. This team in Army just brings it.
Garofano. Let's see who they say it belongs to. It will belong to Army. Nick turn against Kennedy. Kennedy stays with him through the pick. And that'll be over and back, Syracuse ball. Now we get a push, loose ball push. And now a new 80 for Army.
That's a tough play for Syracuse because you know it's an over and back. And Chase Scanlon, it looked like 22 and white, pushes his defender from the rear. I mean, fight for the ball, but don't put that pressure on the back of the defender and giving them another opportunity when they just threw the ball away and gave it to you.
Gunnar Phillips strikes again. A hat trick for Phillip, and Army's lead balloons to 4.
Costly turnovers will crush you. Army turns the ball over. It looked like a turnover. Scanlon on the push. Phillip makes them pay. Army on a huge run in the Carrier Dome.
After being down 6-1, Army with a 12-8 lead, we remind you the ACC's Committee for Racial and Social Justice, in conjunction with its member institutions, have identified February 20th to the 28th as ACC Unity Week. 4:12 to go in the third quarter. Last year it was a Syracuse comeback. It's Army that's roared back in this 2021 battle. And the Black Knights, after struggling at the face-off X for most of the game, have now won 4 of the last 5. Now, we were talking about this in the break, Kark. What does Syracuse have to do to find that early first quarter rhythm that they had?
Well, Dordovic owned that first quarter from a dodging perspective. You give the hot hand some opportunities, but more importantly, when they found creases in the Army defense and had those doorstep type shots, they're not making Schupler really work for it. They're not changing levels. They're not giving him a quick little hitch fake and making him work for it in tight.
And Army scores again. Flag down.
Abshire with a beautiful goal. This goal is absolutely money. The penalty's wiped out. He catches it, goes behind the back. Do you remember I told you on the opposite side of the field, that's an opportunity to go behind the back for Stephen Rafis? You're losing your angle. You're cutting down the pipe with the right stick in terms of, for Abshire, it was his right hand. For Rafis on the opposite side of the field, it was his left. Increase your angle by wrapping it behind your back. That is unbelievable awareness and a beautiful BTB shot by Abshire.
Paul, be honest, at 6-1 late in the first quarter, did you envision a now 5-goal lead for Army late in the third?
Come on, Anish. I mean, no. I thought Syracuse, wow, with all this hype coming into the season and everyone talking about the midfield, and the midfield started off so hot with Dordovic, the back of my mind said, wow, can Army make this competitive? Can they make it competitive? Now the question is, can Syracuse come back?
It's 12-2 Army since it was 6-1 Syracuse. Dordovic has been the offensive star for the Orange with 4 goals and a helper. Dordovic, that one hit the crossbar. Syracuse has hit some pipes too.
That's his second shot of the second half, both pipes. Sometimes guys are so hot, it doesn't matter who's defending you or what the scheme is. That's kind of the case right now with Tucker Dordovic, 23 in white.
Scanlon turned away by Schupler. Ground ball to Army. Ground balls have been almost even. 21-20 in favor of Army. You've got Syracuse milling in retreat now. If you're Army, Paul, you still stay the aggressor here, right? You don't back off. We're way too far out for that.
No, you found your rhythm, and your rhythm has been striking pretty quickly, right? It's not like they're stalling or having these long possessions.
Abshire from Phillip. Clary's got it. Now Dearth. A lot of Moyer. They've got Phillip trapped on defense. Now he'll run off with Dami. 26, Lucas Quinn was a guy that John Desko talked about at length with us and said he's looked really good, extended his range. He's always been proficient with both hands. Hiltz drew a triple team. Quinn misfires.
Do you see how Hiltz right there, where it looks like he's being pressured, and most players would have to bring the stick back to make that pass? He just kind of flicks it right there. I think 77 is the kind of guy that you need to give serious minutes to and let him get into a flow. He's only a freshman. It's going to take him some time, but when it pops for him, his ceiling is so high, his skill set's off the charts.
Rafis looking for Hiltz. 25 seconds on the shot clock, now 40 seconds to go in the quarter. Cook snaking past Horace, feeding Buttermore. Schupler again, another point-blank save.
Remember Anisha was saying shoot at his ankles? Well, that's not working either.
They did a lot of that in the second half last year, and Schupler caught on. Kilbasa with 10 seconds from goal line extended. Kilbasa toward the cage, diving, and this might be a goal mouth violation. No flag, 1 second. They are talking this one over, though. Now that's the question. Did he land in the crease or the goal mouth? He did land in the goal mouth. And this could be a momentum changer for Syracuse.
You look at Kilbasa. He lands in the goal mouth. That's the right call.
Now, was he pushed at all by DiPietro?
Not blatantly. And you see they're
Because if he wasn't
conversing
pushed,
right
the penalty's
now.
on Army.
Yes.
Why are you involved? They already made the call. Why are you involved, Spike? They already made the call. Get out of there.
There's a flag regardless because he lands in the goal mouth. Was he pushed? And if it's a push, it's a flag on the defensive team, which is Syracuse. If they're not feeling like the pressure was from behind, then it's on Army. You cannot land in the goal mouth.
Yeah, right there.
1 minute.
Hometown call, hometown.
You heard it from the Army bench. So it looked like that wasn't DiPietro. That was 41 Barlow. Looked like Barlow did give him a little bit of a push, but the call goes against Army. And it's on Kilbasa for diving into the goal mouth. So now a 1 minute man up for Syracuse. And what that means is the Orange will not have to face off. They will start with the ball and the extra man to begin the fourth quarter. But Army has a 5-goal lead. It's been a Black Knights blitz since the opening quarter. Down 6-1. They lead number 4 Syracuse by 5 after 3. Those banners represent the Standard hanging in the new look Carrier Dome, a $118 million facelift, if you will. Cosmetic surgery in the offseason, new roof, better lighting, huge video board. You know who's seeing it real well with this new lighting is Wyatt Schupler.
And Anish, he's not only seen it, but he's seen it when Syracuse is on the doorstep. Rafis with a nice feed to a cutting Trimboli. Schupler low, Schupler high. Well, let's go after his ankles, like I said. No dice. This guy is feeling it. 10 saves on the afternoon, but it's the type of saves that he's making, bailing out the defense when they're getting beat off ball.
He had 5 games last year with double-digit saves. Was 4th in Division I, 62%. A Florida native, a big Jaguars fan. So you got Urban Meyer and you've got the number 1 overall pick. And right now he's looking to take down the team that was picked to win the ACC. Syracuse will begin this fourth quarter. Sorry, Paul. Syracuse will begin this fourth quarter man up and with the ball, no face-off.
And, you know, a lot of people will look at that replay and say, he was pushed. But real time in the referee's defense, Anish, that is a tough call to make.
You're also looking at the path that he took coming in from goal line extended. No real place for him to land other than the goal mouth. Dordovic bothered by Byer. Sent back, now Hiltz. Number 2 freshman coming out of high school, according to Inside Lacrosse, 77 in white, pegged as a future star at Syracuse. Biggest recruit they've had since Jordan Evans, and Hiltz announces his presence to begin the fourth quarter.
The one thing that I told you when we were leading up to this game, Anish, and I said it earlier, it's the wrists, man. Those wrists are absolutely magical. The number 2 rated recruit, for my money, from a skill set standpoint, I think he's the most skilled recruit that Syracuse has had since Mikey Powell. And a lot of people are going to call me crazy. I'm not saying he's going to be the best player since Mikey Powell, because he has 4 years to do that. And I have too much respect for guys like Mike Lavelle and some of these greats like John Galloway and Joel White. But coming in skill set, this guy does everything. You saw him scoring there. When he gets the full minutes, just watch the way that he passes the ball and shoots when he sets his feet.
The difference is when Powell came to Syracuse, he was a bona fide, ready-made star from day one. Mikey was the chosen one. He delivered on his promise from day one. The luxury they have with Hiltz, with such an experienced roster, you can bring him along slowly. You can ease him in, give him some reps on the second midfield, work him into the attack rotation, and see where he can be at the end of the season. I go back to Jordan Evans, and I said biggest recruit since Evans. Evans was the number 1 recruit coming out of high school. They gave him 22. It didn't work out. He was a second-line midfielder, a defensive midi. He was not the player they thought Syracuse would be. Garofano turns it back. But there was also so much on his shoulders in the target of wearing 22. Hiltz doesn't have the kind of pressure, not on this team. Phillip, saved by Porter.
I agree, Anish. And the other piece of it, too, a lot of recruits right now have highlight reels and are on Instagram nonstop. Try to find a highlight reel of Owen Hiltz. You won't.
Nick turns and fires. And it looked like he may have taken a shot, too.
Nick Turn holding his midsection. And here's the issue. You can't move this guy when he gets a full head of steam at you. He's so strong. You know, he's listed at 185. I think he's more than that, and he is 100% rock solid. He never gets moved when he goes across goal line extended and gets to that 5-and-5 area outside of the crease, 5 yards out. No one can move Nick Turn. You see the strength of him, and Kennedy right there, from a physical standpoint, Kennedy is exceptional in terms of chasing attackmen down and really causing havoc with his stick checks. But the body is too strong for Nick Turn. You saw that low center of gravity and the leg strength. You're not going to move him.
I think Kennedy got him in a spot that if it was a boxing fight, he might have been docked a point. Following our game, a women's doubleheader on the ACC network. And then Saturday on the ACC network, it's Robert Morris and Notre Dame, our first look at the Fighting Irish. And then we've got Virginia and Syracuse at 6 Eastern. Everybody else in the ACC, Virginia, Syracuse, UNC, Duke, these loaded offenses. Notre Dame's going to try to win this year with defense. Nick Turn lost it. Another big ground ball. Going back to midfield, over and back, Syracuse ball. Now they're going to have to bring that back. Yeah, and the referee's saying you got to start back near midfield. And the Orange lose an opportunity there for a quick restart. Army lost to Virginia by this exact score, 14-9. They were minus 20 on ground balls, struggled at the faceoff X, struggled to clear. They've cleaned it up a lot in a week. And Syracuse gets to 14-10. Another goal from that vaunted first midfield.
And what separates this midfield, Anish, how two-handed they are. Every single one of those players feels equally effective with their right and left. That's one that Schupler, I think, is going to want back. He got a piece of it. He saw it the whole way. He wasn't screened. And Curry just uses that blinding speed. But Schupler's made some fantastic saves. That's one he's going to want back when you look at the tape. And here's the issue for Army. Traditionally, they come up to the dome and they get worked on the face-off. So can Syracuse get a goal and then counter again with a possession?
Kark, 8 of the 10 Syracuse goals have come from midfielders. All 3 of the first midfielders have scored. Hiltz, really on a man-up goal, but he's been playing second midfield. So the vast majority of goals have come from the Syracuse midfield. Curry again, feeding Scanlon. Back to Cook. Scanlon against Brendan Ryan, the short stick. Skip pass. Curry winds up, another crossbar for Syracuse. That resets the clock, so you can go back. DiPietro wants Murphy on a bounce to Curry. Less than 11 minutes to go in regulation. Dordovic, a 4-goal game in the season opener. And the Orange turn it over.
That's not what you want if you're Syracuse.
Now we have
see
a
the
flag.
turnovers.
Now there was a flag, so Syracuse looks like it'll go man up, and Dordovic is limping off.
Take a look at Dordovic. Doesn't look like any contact there. He starts hobbling after he throws the ball.
Yeah, no flag. Yeah, that's big. Dordovic on the sideline for Syracuse. Garofano. What'd you say, Kark? He benches 350?
Garofano, yeah, 340, Alberici told us. Squats a ton, and you know, that last turnover from Syracuse on the Scanlon pass, it's 14-10. You're going to have to play as clean as possible against a really sound defense in Army. And now we talked earlier about them continuing to press.
Abshire makes his way in. He's got a hat trick. 4 different Black Knights with a hat trick.
I say continuing to press, Anish, because they have not taken the foot off the gas. So you're down 14-10, but this is an offense, and offensive coordinator Justin Ward, credit him for continuing to instill that type of philosophy that we can go early in possessions to beat this Syracuse defense. So at 14-10, you turn the ball over. Well, guess what? Army is not stalling right now. They're going to continue to run their early offense, find their matchups, and that guy's a beast right there. It's 6'2". He's been owning physical matchups when you watch him on tape, too. Just so physically tough and strong.
Wins the faceoff. Scanlon to the cage. Turned away. Jack Wygan. Good defense at the last second. Wygan coming over. Army had won 7 of 10 faceoffs prior to that. Good sign for Syracuse. Paul Dordovic is back in.
Yep, they need him. I think it was cramps. You saw the trainer stretching him out. You want him on the field making plays regardless, because he's shown in this outing it doesn't matter. When your best guy has played that well, who cares who's guarding him? Let him take a spin. He's making the plays today.
Now Trimboli, the catalyst in the comeback last year. Trimboli, his shot blocked. Scanlon off the scramble. Nearly a turnover, but Dordovic is there. Fresh 80. Still plenty of time. Rafis feeding inside, and a save by Schupler, point blank.
Wow, you look at Schupler, Anish. He's been better actually inside today than outside. Syracuse has had the success shooting from the outside. Inside, I mean, he's just absolutely stonewalling this Syracuse offense.
You come at the rim, you get Mutombo'd.
Yeah, exactly. You get that wave.
Phillip with a hat trick. The cover skills of Peter Dirth. 9 and white. Now Nick Turn. He's got his man hung up. Porter out of the cage. Nick Turn spinning inside. The goal counts 4 for Brendan Nick Turn. He's got a 6-point afternoon.
I get the fact that you only have 7 minutes and change left, so Drake Porter's going to go out. But when you're a goalie and you chase, you're never in position. Brendan Nick Turn is a star. He's been dominant with this Army offense against the Cuse, up 6.
Army's 2 best offensive players are Brendan Nick Turn and Bobby Abshire. Both have had monster afternoons as Army leads Syracuse 16-10.
You can't move these guys, Anish. It looks like they spend a lot of time in the weight room squatting because the Syracuse defense, from a physicality perspective, they're not moving these dudes. And Nick Turn, you see there, just soak the check from the Syracuse defense, in the nimble feet too, right around the crease area. Nick Turn is a star.
This is stunning. Army's a good team. Had they won this game close, and I know there's 7.5 minutes to go, you could say, all right, first game for Syracuse. Army had a game under its belt. A team picked to finish second in the Patriot League, top 15 team. But with Syracuse up 6-1 and now being down 6, a stunning turn of events. Here come the Orange, unsettled to make it 16-11.
You get one, you get the ball back because you can dominate the face-off X. Anish, everyone talks about the Syracuse midfield. Before that goal by Rafis, the attack had only 2 goals combined. Teams all season long are going to be calling out this unit, putting all the big horses defensively against the Syracuse midfield. The attack has to be assertive, has to run this offense, and from a flow standpoint, you just don't feel like Syracuse has had that flow. They have so many playmakers from attack that need to step up, that have the capability to step up. But today, the midfield is making the plays and calling out, the Army defense is calling out the Syracuse attack.
And a flag is down. Third face-off violation.
Wait, 30 seconds, legal procedure, 37.
So Army will have a 30-second man up. And that's one area where this game has turned a little bit, Paul. Syracuse was dominating face-offs in the first half. They dominated face-offs really the last few years against Army. In the second half, the Black Knights have made it a game at X. And the position and the possession battle hasn't tilted completely in Syracuse's favor. Now 3 violations. So for every successive face-off violation from here on out, Army will go man up. Abshire on the wing. 14 in black, 20 in black. Two of the stars today. Burns has a couple of goals. Kilbasa's been a playmaker.
Syracuse penalty is released.
Edinger, 45, out of Tully, New York, with a hat trick. Even strength now. How conservative do you get if you're Army?
Well, we talked earlier that you can continue to play your pressure offense and early offense. Now you play smart and you milk the clock. Now you want to get down to that 20, 15-second range before you really attack, because up 5 with 6, you feel good. Up 5 with 10, you stay in that base pressure, quick early offense.
Porter jumped out of the cage. Nick turns, skip pass. Phillip, save made. New 80, and Army can now bleed the clock a little more.
This is a problem. And credit Army for those second chance ground balls. Even when Syracuse has won some of the face-offs, they've turned it over right away. So the possession was won to Army. Army's played a lot cleaner in the second half of this game, and those second chance ground balls give you a fresh 80.
Edinger against Earth. Syracuse posted close wins against Army in each of the last 3 years. Army won against the Orange in 2017, and of course, the monumental upset in the NCAA tournament back in 2010.
This is what you want. Nick Turn had a shorty.
Nick Turn to Abshire, a quick stick and a Sports Center top 10.
Nick Turn knows Syracuse does not have the matchup they want. They want to put their best long pole on Nick Turn. He's their playmaker. Syracuse gets caught. They want to put Kennedy back, but in that transfer, Abshire recognizes Kennedy's going off of him, and all smiles for 14 in black.
Abshire with 4 goals and an assist. Nick Turn 4 and 3. I thought the Matt Moore goal we saw against Loyola yesterday would be the best goal of the weekend. Might have another candidate there. That was pretty on both ends, the finish and the feed.
But with Nick Turn, what I'm finding, if you chart this game and watch it back, his plus minus is incredible. I mean, he has not made a bad play. His overall awareness and the way that he sees the field and the offensive game, once Kennedy went to a quick switch, Nick Turn recognized that right away with the pass. He's just always making that right play. Like when you chart him as a coach, Nick Turn, check, 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 always doing the right thing.
Dordovic over to Hiltz. His pass taken away. Here comes Pryor. Fresh legs in that defensive midfield for Army. And they'll squeeze out some more clock. From being down 5 in the first quarter to being up 6 with less than 4 minutes to go.
Can milk it now. And I continue to give 20 in black the ball, because he's going to be able to control it. It's so hard to take it away from him. And when you go late in the shot clock, he's going to make the right play. Don't underestimate what it means to have a big-time alpha as your quarterback. You look at some of the best teams in the country. When you have a Michael Sowers at Duke, a Chris Gray at North Carolina, a Matt Moore at Virginia, someone who operates the offense from behind the cage, that changes the complexity of the way you do things, especially when you're in critical thinking moments like in the fourth quarter with a lead. You want him to have the ball.
And he's got it now with the shot clock winding down. Nick Turn shoots high. Army the backup, 13 seconds left. And if you're Army, really, if you can hold on to the ball, you can shot clock violation this thing to the end. Women's lacrosse doubleheader follows our game. And Army will give it back to Syracuse, but they milked some valuable clock, 2:48 to go. Joe Alberici's team on the verge of the biggest win of this young season for anybody. Army picks it off. Porter retreats into the net. And the Black Knights 2.5 minutes away from a colossal upset at the Carrier Dome. A flag coming against Syracuse.
You know, Anish, it's interesting. You know how game outcomes and the projections change at certain point in time of the game when it was 6-1. What do you think the percentage chance that Army would win this game by 6 goals? It's crazy. I mean, they just played so clean. And a lot like their first game against Virginia, Joe Alberici had so much to look at in the tape. Well, John Desko's going to have that as well.
Abshire back to Nick Turn. 30 seconds on the shot clock. 7-point game for Nick Turn. After 5 against Virginia, saved by Porter. And Army will go man up with 1:37. It's all bookkeeping now. Well, for Syracuse, listen, there's not a lot of time. They've got Virginia next Saturday. And if they don't clean a few things up
30, offside.
and get a little more production from the attack, you could be staring at 0-2.
Well, look, I think as much as this team's played together for so long, this is their first real game. There's some new pieces, but what surprised me the most is they were clicking early, right? At 6-1, they had the momentum, they had the confidence, and they just let Army get back in this game. And Army's second, third, and fourth quarter was so clean. I mean, they were methodical cleaning up their inability to clear from a week ago. The ground balls, the physicality, and then you have Nick Turn and Abshire. Who wouldn't want those dudes at attack, dodging, and making plays with 20 in black and then 14 in black Abshire? That is a 1-2 punch. That's a load. Like, you don't move those two.
Let's flip the conversation. What has this game told you about Army?
Told me that they can rebound, and it told me that last week was more about their rust, as they put a cherry on top with Aiden Burns, more about their rust in the first game than what they're all about. Because I respect Virginia's ride, don't get me wrong, but Syracuse has the athletes in the middle of the field to do something similar to Virginia that did a week ago. But it told me that Army is able to clean up any mental mistakes from one week to another, and they have pieces. When you have a quarterback like Nick Turn, a goalie like Schupler who's playing unbelievable, specifically in tight, and then that close defense, I mean, the value of a quarterback at attack and a defense that plays together, Anish, sky's the limit.
It's February 21st. And Syracuse is one of those programs that has more media attention on it than others. The sky is not falling on Syracuse lacrosse. It is one game. It is their first game. But you have to wonder if Army has given some of the teams watching a little bit of a blueprint, because their MO was, let's see if this Syracuse attack can beat us. And that was the right game plan.
It was the right game plan, but I'm not going to go there yet, because I'm going to give Syracuse that opportunity to answer with their attack in week 2. Just like Army answered in week 2, their week 2. I have faith in the Syracuse team. They have some questions. Who are the playmakers at attack? But guess what? You can rebound in week 2.
Army showed up today and puts an exclamation point on an upset at the Carrier Dome. Down 6-1, the Black Knights close on a 17-5 run, and they knock off number 4 Syracuse. The Orange get Virginia next week.